Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Ask Rob and Rob.
Hello, welcome to Ask Rob and Rob, a show all about questions and also about answers in roughly equal proportions, or it doesn't work so well. This is Ask Rob and Rob. We've had great questions in from Neil and somebody who's not left us his name, but we won't hold that against him. We're going to answer his question anyway. Both good ones. 2 answers coming your way after Rob gives you a quick recap of how you can send your own question in.
Yes, it's super easy. If you want to get involved and have your question answered on the show, you've got 2 options. You can call on a normal rate, of course, 013 808 00035. That's 013 808 00035. Or you could just jump on your computer, your phone, wherever it is, and go to thepropertyhub.net/ask. That's thepropertyhub.net/ask and leave your recording that way. However you do it, we don't mind, because if it's a good question, we'll answer it anyway. So let's start with Neil from the wonderful Liverpool.
Hi, Rob and Rob. It's Neil from Liverpool. I've got a little bit of an issue with the valuers. What it was 18 months ago, I was contemplating on selling the house that I was in. I got it valued to go on the market, and we valued it at £130,000, which was great. Obviously, circumstances have changed, and fast forward 18 months, and now I'm thinking of obviously buying to let it, putting on a value for that. And it's got a mortgage value of it, and the guy come out and he valued it at 118, which was a little bit disappointing. I'm just wondering, is there a difference between a mortgage, the way the mortgage guy values it, and the way that it was marketing guys value it? Anyway, congratulations on your podcast. Thanks very much. Bye.
So Neil, my heart goes out to you. You've had a property valued at 130. You didn't make it clear whether it was initially a valuer or an estate agent or someone else to begin with, but it was at 130, and then a valuer's come around and put it at 118. Now, this could be a combination of things, so don't be too disheartened. It could be that whoever valued it up originally put it too high. Possible. But if you've done your research, you should be comfortable with that price anyway. And if you haven't, then that's what's put you at risk. And that's a lesson for everyone, is people will give you values, but always validate them yourself. And if it's in a built-up area, it's normally fairly easy to get an idea of a value on a property. However, you've come to it at a later date, the value has gone out, and he's done it from 130 down to 118, which understandably is disappointing. Now, that could be that it is worth 118, but it could also mean, and it wouldn't be the first time I've heard of this, Neil, that the valuer has been a bit grumpy on that day, or his mortgage company have possibly given him a nudge to say, make sure you're not too generous with this valuation. Again, something I'm aware of that's happened. So it could be that your property was overvalued in the first place, or it could be the valuer has been a little stingy this time. So what do you do? Well, do your research. Go back to what I started with originally. Have a look at what's been selling in your local area for similar type of properties, and assess for yourself, is this property worth closer to the 130 or is it closer to the 118? If you still feel it's the 130, then go back to your broker and ask him to get a different valuer out on it. If that particular lender won't allow that, then look to a different lender if you feel strongly about it. But it's your research that's going to tell you this one. Hopefully it was your research that put you into this deal, but it's now your research that needs to help you move forward from this point on. So, not an easy one. We can't say for definite which way round it is. It could be a combo of the both, slightly overpriced first time and slightly stingy value this time. But it's only you doing a bit of groundwork, a bit of digging, that will give you the answer that you need.
Yeah, there's a bit of a range normally, isn't there? So you say, probably looking at the comparables, a property is going to be worth sort of between this and this. The range should be pretty tight if it's a built-up area, like you say, Rob, but there's always going to be a bit of a range. And depending on who the instructions come from, the valuer could be going towards the high end of that or the low end of that. And if it's a lender, it normally will be the low end because they don't want to get into trouble if everything goes wrong in the future. You see it up in Scotland as well sometimes, where you get the home report value, where so when it's marketed, somebody's already gone out and said what the property's worth. Then if you look at it for mortgage purposes, they come out and someone else values it lower. Not always the case, and it shouldn't be the case, but it does happen. So you do see that who's asking the question can affect what the answer is when it comes to values. Frustrating, but hey, if it's any consolation, it does happen to everyone. Okay, let's move on to our second question about tenancy agreements.
Hello, Rob and Rob. My name is Satyan from Orpington. I would like to ask you a question about AST. Currently, I'm managing a small portfolio, and for practical reasons, I'm getting the AST sent over as a PDF, and I'm signing it and sending it, and my tenant does the same. Would this be legal, and would this stand the test of court if it ever needs to go to the court? Thank you.
Okay, so what you're saying there is you've got a tenancy agreement in PDF form. You've sent it over that way. The tenant has sent it back that way. Is it still legally binding? If you had to go to court and present them with the PDF, would that do the job? Well, the answer is, generally speaking, yes. So a tenancy agreement needs to be in writing. It doesn't need to be on paper for it to be legally binding. Digital signatures are legally binding. The issue that you could have potentially is that you need to be able to prove that it was the tenant who signed it. So if it goes to court, the tenant could stand there and say, well, I never signed that, even though they clearly had. That's why a good solution, a good way to get the convenience of signing digitally without having to worry about that kind of thing, is to use a proper digital signing service. This is what we do at Yellow Lettings. So there's one called Echo Sign. There's another called Hello Sign. There's another called Signable. If you search digital signing software or something like that, you'll find lots of them. They're all broadly similar. Most of them have a free plan, so you can do maybe like 3 or 5 a month or something, which will be enough for you to do just the odd AST without having to pay. What that means is you just do it as a PDF, but then you send it through this service, and then when the tenant signs it, it establishes an audit trail, so it stamps it with their IP address and basically validates that it really was them that signed it, does the same for you, then sends the signed document back to all parties. No paper needs to have been printed, and if you do ever need to go to court to argue it, it will 100% stand up. So you should be all right with what you've got, but if you do use one of those services next time, then you can be absolutely sure without having to go to all the inconvenience of killing trees, finding new printer ink, and all the rest of it. So there you go. 2 more questions dispatched by us. If you'd like to ask your own, do get it in thepropertyhub.net/ask or 013 808 0035. We would love to answer your question. We'll be back to do it all again this time next week. We'll be back with a property podcast on Thursday. Until then, have fun. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.